Picture a quiet street in any mid-sized town. One house shows a modest sedan, another a faded minivan, a third an ordinary pickup. Nothing shouts wealth, yet somewhere behind one of those front doors sits a tidy vault, enough money to change a family tree. The real surprise is not that million-dollar households exist. It is how many hide in plain sight. And believe me, there are many more than you think. There are 7 habits that have made all these Americans millionaires, and I will reveal the exact number of millionaires within these habits at a random point. And remember that the 5th one is the most important one, which will make you join this number of millionaires if you put it into effect. Let's start. The first habit that future millionaires adopt is swapping paper-hour thinking for value thinking. Growing up, most of us are taught to trade blocks of time for a wage, as if money can enter our lives only 1 hour at a time. People who eventually reach 7 figures flip the script. A salaried engineer spends a rainy weekend coding a timer app that cuts every production cycle by 5 seconds. Instead of logging overtime, he licenses that small tool to his own employer for a lump sum, then lists a generic version online. Or a freelance designer quotes one flat price for an entire brochure, masters a few hidden keyboard shortcuts, and finishes in half the billable hours, while the client celebrates a predictable invoice. Pricing outcomes over hours is the first lever most 7-figure households pull, often before they even realize how powerful that shift will become. To practice, write down one task you already do well, estimate what the finished result is worth to someone else, and offer it once this week at a fixed price. One yes flips a mental switch that never turns off. Automatic saving is the second habit. Surveys of self-made millionaires show they move at least 15% of every paycheck out of spending reach the instant it lands. The transfer fires on payday, flows to a 401k, Roth IRA, or plain brokerage account, and the household budgets around what remains. Momentum can start with as little as $20. After 3 months, the saver usually raises the draft because the growing balance feels better than the lost spending ever did. A dental assistant named Mia began with $50 a week into her Roth. Each January, she nudged the number by 10. 5 Januaries later, she was saving a quarter of her take-home pay with almost no pain. Automation beats willpower because it removes the decision from today's mood and turns saving into a built-in bill. Holding broad, boring investments and sitting still is the third habit. The overwhelming share of millionaire portfolios lean on low-cost index funds or broadly diversified mutual funds held for decades, not months. Since 1970, a global basket of stocks has never produced a negative return in any rolling 20-year span. $500 a month at 8% annual growth passes 1 million in just under 30 years, and that assumes no bonuses, no side income, and no market outperformance. Add a modest 3% annual raise to contributions, and the timeline shortens dramatically. The Dalbar Research Group tracks investor behaviour and finds that the average stock investor captures barely half of long-term market returns because they jump in and out on headlines. Millionaires let their settings ride, reinvest dividends, and mow the lawn instead of checking quotes. Habit 4 concerns spending. Almost every millionaire tracks cash flow with some form of target, sometimes an elaborate spreadsheet, sometimes a simple envelope system, or phone app that flashes yellow when a category nears the limit. They still enjoy life, yet they drive cars several years old, pack lunches more often than not, and dodge the swarm of micro-subscriptions that nibble at checking accounts. A paid-off mid-size sedan instead of serially financed SUVs can save well over $400,000 once those free dollars compound in the market. Brewing coffee at home for 40 cents instead of buying a $3 to-go cup frees $950 a year. Invest that at 8% for 20 years, and the coffee money alone becomes $45,000. Tiny choices repeated daily stack into huge margins. So how large is the millionaire crowd forged by these first 4 habits? Fresh data from Federal Reserve surveys, Credit Suisse's Global Wealth Report, and several private studies converge on one eye-opening figure. Roughly 1 in 10 US households now claims a net worth of at least $1 million. That translates to about 12 million families, far more than most people guess. Strip away home equity and focus only on liquid investments and cash, and the share shrinks to roughly 3%. Narrow the lens again to retirement accounts alone, and barely one worker in 30 has piled up a 7-figure nest egg. The layers matter, because the fifth habit revolves around the gap between those tiers and how strategic use of debt propels households from the bottom slice into the top slice. Habit 5 is an iron rule about debt. High interest balances devour cash flow and sabotage compounding. Roughly 3/4 of millionaires have never carried a credit card bill past the due date. They see a 19% APR as quicksand that can swallow an 8% market gain every single month. Yet they are not universally debt averse. They borrow when the loan is likely to pay for itself, and then some. A couple buys a duplex with a fixed 6% mortgage. Rent from the second unit covers principal, interest, repairs, insurance, and still leaves $150 surplus. They bank that surplus and make extra principal payments. By the loan's midpoint, rents have climbed while the payments stayed flat, widening the margin even further. In that scenario, debt is a lever, not a drag. The deciding question before any loan: will this borrow reliably put more money in my pocket than it removes with acceptable risk? If the math fails, millionaires walk away, even if friends swear everyone does it. Habit 6 layers extra income streams. Teachers tutor during exam season, programmers sell plugins, hobby mechanics flip used lawn equipment. Crucially, the net proceeds go directly into investments rather than lifestyle upgrades. A side project clearing $200 a month, invested at 8%, adds more than $300,000 to net worth over 3 decades. When a stream grows bigger, say a backyard print-on-demand shop topping $1,000 monthly, the timeline to $1 million shrinks to 15 years, even for middle-income earners. Millionaires often talk about side hustles as experiments, low-risk trials that might bloom into a business, but, at minimum, feed the compounding machine. Habit 7 is respect for the clock. Money invested early, even in tiny bites, outruns larger sums started late. Someone who invests $6,000 annually from age 25 to 35 and then stops often ends richer than someone who waits until 40 and keeps investing through retirement. That edge is the mathematical miracle of exponential growth. Future millionaires hurry to start, even if the initial contribution feels laughably small. For later starters, the remedy is compression. Raise the savings rate, exploit tax-advantage catch-up limits, and spin up high-margin side income to close the gap. With the habits clear and the millionaire count unmasked, the how must become a single smooth routine, not a scattered checklist. Begin by sketching your personal finish line using a free online calculator. Enter your age, current savings, an 8% return, and adjust the monthly deposit until the curve hits your goal. Next, hunt one recurring bill to kill or trim, maybe a rarely used membership or overpriced sell plan, and reroute the savings straight into your automatic draft. Knock out high-interest debt quickly. Every balance erased is a permanent raise, feeding the compounding machine. Recast your skills as outcome-based offers, and send one pitch this week. Even a modest gig can cover your target deposit on its own. Guard the engine with a 3-month emergency fund in a high-yield account, and cheap umbrella insurance if you own property. Term life coverage protects dependents if anything interrupts the plan. Review quarterly. Raise contributions after each pay increase. Rebalance if any holding balloons above 70%, then close the dashboard. The system is heavy on autopilot, light on drama. Will a single million secure everything? Rising healthcare and housing costs suggest that $2 million or a strong passive income stream brings deeper safety. Yet the first million proves the flywheel functions and usually brings the second in half the time because the base is larger and the saver more confident. Linda, a postal worker who began at 45 with $30,000 saved, automated 10%, sold handmade soap online, slashed subscription clutter, and applied every raise to her investment draft. By 55, she topped 300,000. At 60, she reached 750. At 65, her retirement accounts, plus modest home equity, crossed 1.05 million. Her mantra: set it, forget it, add to it. Someone will cross 7 figures this week. Someone else with identical income will call it impossible. The distance between those futures is routine, not luck. Choose one routine tonight. Perhaps the first automated transfer, perhaps deleting a lingering subscription, and lock it in before tomorrow. Your future vault is waiting behind an ordinary door, and the key is already in your hand. And the first step you could take towards financial freedom is to subscribe to this channel and leave a like on the video, so support me to create more similar videos. And also comment with your idea of all this, and I'll see you soon.